My husband hit me in front of his entire family, and when the police arrived, he pretended I'd fallen down the stairs. But he never imagined what I would do next. Before we begin, tell me in the comments what city you're listening from. I'd love to know how far this story has traveled. Now, get ready to discover a reality that many keep silent, but which should never be silenced. They say true love doesn't shout, doesn't hurt, doesn't crush. But for Angel, love taught her to be afraid to close her eyes at night, because opening them the next day was often worse. Angel Montgomery was 32 and had a gaze that didn't match her young face. There was something about her that couldn't be easily described, as if the light in her pupils was locked behind a door that never fully opened. She was beautiful, but not with a vulgar or provocative beauty. Rather, one that conveyed tenderness, the kind that makes those who prefer the superficial uncomfortable. And yet, to the world, she was the perfect wife. Educated, discreet, always well-dressed, always with a measured smile. The wife of the prestigious attorney Marcus Sterling. Angel lived in a large house with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking an evergreen garden, a place where appearances were paramount. From the outside, everything seemed harmonious. A wealthy family, a stable marriage, a beautiful little girl named Lily, and a mother-in-law with the air of a queen, Mrs. Evelyn Sterling. The name said it all. The Sterling family was known in the city for its political connections, old money, and arrogance disguised as class. Angel woke up every day at 6. Lily, her daughter of just 6 years old, would usually run into the room to wake her with kisses. This morning was no different. "Mommy, are we going to play bakery?" the little girl asked, climbing onto the bed. Angel hugged her tight with a warm smile that hid much more than just tiredness. "Not today, sweetheart. Today we have dinner with Daddy's family. Remember?" Lily pouted, then got off the bed and ran toward the kitchen. Rosa, the housekeeper, was already preparing breakfast, an older woman with hands roughened by years of work and eyes that had seen more than they should. "They're all coming today," Rosa commented in a low voice while serving the coffee. Angel nodded. She already knew what that meant. Today she had to be perfect. Today she couldn't cry. Today she had to be the model wife. Marcus didn't appear until 9, as always. He came down the stairs talking on the phone, his brow furrowed with what seemed like a permanent expression. He was impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit, navy tie, an expensive cologne that filled the house every time he passed by. After hanging up, he looked at Angel without saying a word. He poured coffee, sat down, and checked the newspaper. "What menu did you prepare for tonight?" he asked without looking up. "Stuffed chicken with truffled mash, just how you like it. And Rosa will make the almond cake." Marcus nodded. Then he looked at her, but not with affection. He scanned her. "Change that dress. It doesn't suit you. You look puffy." Angel lowered her gaze. Rosa pressed her lips together but said nothing. She had learned to keep quiet. Everyone in that house did. "Of course," Angel replied. "I'll put on another one." Lily, who had just entered with a drawing in her hand, froze. She watched her father with a mix of respect and fear. Marcus never touched her, but his presence imposed more than a shout. "Look, Daddy, I drew you a lion," the girl said enthusiastically. Marcus took the drawing with 2 fingers, barely looked at it, and placed it on the table. "I'll see it later." "Not now." Lily lowered her eyes just like her mother. Angel went over and hugged her. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. We'll put it on the fridge, okay?" Marcus got up. Before leaving, he threw one last line. "Remember to smile tonight. I don't want any long faces in front of my guests." The door closed. Angel stayed still for a few seconds. Then she turned to Rosa. "Can you watch Lily for a bit? I need to be alone." She locked herself in her room, sat in front of the mirror, and looked at her face, the dark circles, the makeup that didn't quite hide them. She took off her dress, and there on her ribs were marks that were never shown. They weren't recent, but not very old either. She didn't cry. She didn't cry easily anymore. She just took a deep breath and wrote something on a piece of paper that she then folded carefully. She put it in her purse, as she had done many times before. That afternoon, the house filled with activity. Rosa cleaned the dining room. Mrs. Evelyn arrived with her usual attitude. Nose in the air, firm steps, a soft but sharp voice. "Do you have the white tablecloth ready?" "None of those cheap imitations you like," she told Angel without even looking her in the eyes. "Yes, ma'am, everything is as you requested. And I hope so. Congressman Fletcher and his wife are coming today. I don't want them to think this family is poorly attended to by some girl from the suburbs." Angel didn't respond. She knew any word would be used against her. Ethan, Marcus's brother-in-law, arrived shortly after, always with his forced smile, designer clothes, and arrogant attitude. He approached Angel with a glass of wine in his hand. "And how's the trophy wife doing? Ready for the show tonight?" "I'm not in the mood, Ethan." "You never are. That's why my brother is always so tense." Angel walked away. Rosa watched everything from the kitchen, tightly clutching the rag in her hands. When the guests began to arrive, Angel was already made up, hair done, dressed in an elegant black gown that Marcus had chosen weeks ago. Lily wore a white lace set, identical to the one Angel wore at her first event with the Sterlings. Marcus introduced her to everyone with a practiced smile. "And my wife, the jewel of this family." Angel nodded with a fake smile. Inside, her hands were sweating. During dinner, Congressman Fletcher spoke of politics, business, and the country's problems. Marcus interjected with strong opinions. Everyone laughed. Angel served wine, offered bread, and discreetly wiped small spills. No one looked at her. No one noticed the tremor in her fingers. "And Angel, when was the last time you said anything interesting?" Marcus asked loudly, provoking laughter. Angel looked at him. Silence. The congressman laughed. His wife pretended not to hear. "Maybe you should read more so you at least have an opinion," Marcus continued. Rosa, from the kitchen door, gripped her apron tightly. Lily looked down. Angel swallowed. She smiled. She stood up. "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom." She went in, locked the door, and leaned against the wood. Her legs were shaking. Finally, a tear fell. Just one. She looked at her reflection. Her eyeliner had smeared. She wiped it with a tissue and then heard knocks on the door. Marcus's voice was low but firm. "Angel, come out now. Don't make a scene. You know how these things end." She didn't reply. "I'm warning you, don't make me look bad tonight." Angel took a deep breath. She opened the door. "I'm fine. I just needed air." "No, you are not fine, and you are starting to annoy me." "Marcus, please." He approached her slowly. A smile formed on his face, but his eyes were cold. "Tonight, you won't speak or make eye contact. Just smile. Understood?" "All right. No, say it. I want to hear you." "Yes, Marcus, I will do as you say." He came closer, placed his hand on her face, and in a quick motion brought it down. The dry sound of a slap broke the silence of the hallway. Angel didn't scream, she just closed her eyes. Behind the slightly ajar door of Lily's room, a small shadow trembled. The little girl had seen everything. The little girl had seen everything. Lily, with her small eyes peeking out from behind the ajar door, had witnessed that moment her mother would never tell her about. She didn't fully understand what she had just seen, but something in her chest felt different. It was no longer childish fear, it was something else. A silent alarm telling her that something was very, very wrong. Angel remained frozen for a few seconds, her cheeks stinging, her lips pressed together, and her eyes closed. She didn't cry, she didn't make a sound, she just took a deep breath. Marcus looked at her as one observes an object that has lost its value. His expression showed no guilt, not even annoyance. It was calm, a perverse calm. "Remember what I told you," he murmured before returning to the dining room. Angel was left alone in the hallway. She knew she couldn't stay there. The house was full of guests. She couldn't make a scene. Lily was no longer at the door. She had run back to her room with a pounding heart, hid under the bed, and hugged her old teddy bear. Angel went to see her shortly after. She knelt beside the bed. "Sweetheart, are you awake?" Lily didn't answer. Angel stayed silent for a few seconds. She knew she had seen. She felt it. She sighed. "It's nothing, my love. It was nothing. Everything is fine." Lily didn't respond. Angel didn't press. She stood up. She looked in the mirror. The red cheek was starting to darken. She took the foundation and covered the mark with precision. Then she took a deep breath and left the room. The show had to go on. In the dining room, everything was perfect. The long mahogany table gleamed under the warm ceiling lights. Crystal glasses, silver cutlery, napkins embroidered with the family's initials. The guests were chatting animatedly. The background music was soft, elegant, distant. Angel walked to her place. No one noticed her absence, or they chose not to. Marcus had already resumed his role as the charming host. Mrs. Evelyn was speaking in a refined tone about a new social club. Ethan was laughing with a glass in his hand, telling anecdotes of dubious veracity. "Ah, there's the star," Ethan commented when Angel sat down. "Everything good, sister-in-law?" "Everything's fine," she replied without looking at him. At that moment, Marcus stood up and took the floor with a firm but cordial voice. "Dear friends, this dinner is to thank you for your support, your presence, and your loyalty to the Sterling family. Today, we are building a new chapter full of opportunities and valuable alliances. Everyone applauded. Politics floated in the air. It wasn't a family dinner, it was a dinner of masks. An elegant figure entered the room. It was Valerie Reed, an investigative journalist and columnist for an independent newspaper. No one understood why she was invited. Mrs. Evelyn merely observed her with a mix of disdain and caution. Angel looked at her with interest. Something about this woman drew attention. Her eyes were serene but observant. She didn't fit in there, and she knew it. Marcus walked toward her. "Valerie, welcome. What a pleasure to have you here." "Thank you, Marcus. It's a pleasure. I didn't imagine receiving such a select invitation." "Well, it's always good to have those who write history close by." Valerie smiled, but her gaze had already swept the room. She paused on Angel for a second longer than normal. She observed her face, the makeup, the stiffness of her gestures. She said nothing, but an alert went off in her mind. The dinner progressed. Angel didn't eat much. She only cut small pieces and moved them around her plate. Ethan didn't miss an opportunity to throw uncomfortable comments. "Angel, what's your opinion on the new Attorney General?" "Oh, wait, do you read the newspapers?" The table erupted in superficial laughter. Marcus smiled triumphantly. Mrs. Evelyn just drank her wine. Angel didn't respond. "Angel," Marcus insisted in a lower voice but loaded with venom. "Answer. Don't be rude." "I don't have a formed opinion," she finally said. "Of course." "As always," Marcus finished. Valerie frowned slightly. She knew how to detect a pattern. She had seen that dynamic before. Violence wasn't always a blow. Sometimes it was a laugh with the stench of power. Mrs. Evelyn looked at Valerie. "And what has led you to write about politics lately? You used to write about lighter topics, no?" "Now I'm interested in what others prefer to silence," Valerie replied without hesitation. "Investigating structures held up by fear. Secrets of powerful families, things like that." The tension at the table was palpable. Marcus gave a dry laugh. "Oh my. How interesting. I suppose you should be careful. Sometimes those who dig too much end up getting bitten by the snake. Or by the silence of others," Valerie replied without taking her eyes off Angel. The dinner continued, but the atmosphere had become denser. Dessert arrived, almond cake. Angel didn't take a single bite. She just wanted it all to end. "I'm going to the restroom," she said in a low voice and stood up. Marcus waited a few seconds, then also got up and followed her. Angel walked down the hallway toward the upstairs bathroom. When she arrived, Marcus was behind her. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Nothing. I just needed air." "You're a bad liar." Marcus approached. She stepped back. He didn't hit her, but his presence was enough. "Don't ruin this night for me," he said in a low voice. "No, not in front of everyone. You've done enough." "I haven't done anything," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Exactly. Nothing, as always." And with a dry push, he threw her to the ground. The noise was muffled, but loud enough for Rosa, who was passing down the hall with an empty tray, to hear it. She stopped. She saw Angel on the floor. She saw Marcus standing over her. She said nothing, only lowered her head and kept walking. Angel didn't scream. She got up by herself. Marcus walked away as if nothing had happened. He returned to the dining room minutes later. A small trail of blood slid from her knee, but her long dress covered it. No one asked. No one commented. No one flinched. Valerie watched her. She knew something had happened, but it wasn't the moment. Not yet. When dinner ended, the guests began to leave. Marcus was saying goodbye with hugs. Ethan offered parting drinks. Mrs. Evelyn delivered fake smiles. Valerie approached Angel before leaving. "Are you okay?" she asked in a low voice. Angel looked at her, hesitated, and looked down. "I'm fine. Thank you for coming." Valerie didn't press, but she knew she had to come back. When everyone was gone, Angel locked herself in the room with Lily. She found her asleep, hugging her teddy bear. She stroked her hair. She wanted to cry. She didn't. She went down to the kitchen. She looked for her cell phone. It wasn't there. She looked in her purse. Empty. She checked the drawers. Nothing. She went up to the study. Marcus was there, checking his email. "Where is my cell phone?" He didn't even look at her. "It's with me." "Why do you have it?" "Because from today on you won't need it." "I don't want any nonsense, Angel. I need to talk to my mom. I already wrote to her. I told her you were busy. No calls, no texts, no scandals. Give it back, please." Marcus stood up, closed the door, and approached her. "If you report me, you will end up dead." "You heard me." Angel backed away. Her back hit the wall. "No one will believe you." I'm a Sterling. He looked her in the eyes. Now go to sleep. I have meetings tomorrow. I don't want to see you with dark circles. Angel left the study without saying a word. She went up the stairs like a ghost. She entered her room, closed the door, and this time she did cry. She didn't scream, she didn't break anything, she just hugged herself. In silence, Lily in the room next to her opened her eyes again. She wasn't asleep. She had heard everything. She was only 6 years old, but she already understood what fear was. And that night, something inside her also broke. Lily was no longer the same. Curled up in her bed, with her eyes wide open in the darkness, she understood that the world her mother had described so many times as safe no longer existed. That bubble she thought she was protected in burst with the muffled crash of Angel's body hitting the floor and her father's words loaded with threats, hatred, and power. Angel woke up at dawn. She had barely slept. Every muscle in her body ached, but not from new blows. The pain was older. It came from within, like a constant pressure in her chest that wouldn't let her breathe completely. She sat up in bed with effort. The house was silent. She went down the stairs without shoes, her feet cold, and stopped in the middle of the hallway. The clock in the foyer read 6:30. By that time, Rosa was usually in the kitchen, but she didn't hear any sounds or the aroma of fresh coffee. That silence was a warning. She walked toward the kitchen and found it empty. Rosa wasn't there. She felt a chill. She had been in that house for years. She was never late. Angel walked to the garden. In the distance, she saw Rosa's figure sitting on the bench by the lemon tree. She had her apron on, her hands in her lap, and her gaze lost. "Is everything okay?" Angel asked from the door. Rosa looked at her. Her face had something different. There were tears in her eyes, but they weren't recent. She looked exhausted. "I quit today," she said in a low voice. Angel froze. "What? Why?" "Because I can't anymore. I don't want to keep seeing what I see and silencing what I silence. Because a part of me died last night, Mrs. Angel, when I saw how he threw you, and when no one did anything." Angel approached slowly. She sat next to her. "You don't have to leave. You're the only thing keeping me here. And you are the only thing stopping me from leaving. But I have a granddaughter, ma'am, and I don't want her to think one should stay where it hurts. I'm tired and I'm scared." Angel looked down and took her hand. "Thank you for everything. If one day something happens, would you help me?" Rosa nodded without hesitation. "Yes. But promise me you won't wait until it's too late." Angel returned inside the house with a new sensation, a strange mix of sadness and determination. She went up the stairs in silence. When she reached the hallway, she stopped. Her bedroom door was ajar. Lily was still sleeping. Angel didn't want to wake her. She went to the bathroom, washed her face, and returned to her room. As she was getting dressed, she noticed something on the mirror frame, a small piece of paper taped there. She took it. It was a drawing by Lily, her mother, and a heart in the center. At the top, in childish handwriting, it said, "Mommy, I'll protect you." Angel couldn't hold back the tears. It was the first time in a long time she had cried shamelessly. Hours later, the house was filled with noise again. Ethan arrived early with his designer jacket and mocking gaze. Mrs. Evelyn came down in her silk robe, as if she were the owner of a colonial plantation. Marcus, still in his pajamas, checked his phone in the dining room. "Have you had breakfast yet?" he asked without looking up. "I'm not hungry," Angel replied. "Eat something. I don't want a scene today. Attorney Godfrey is coming for lunch." Angel didn't respond. She just went to the kitchen. It was empty. She prepared coffee herself. While doing so, she noticed Marcus talking to someone on the phone. "And yes, of course, we'll control that. Make sure it doesn't get into the media. That journalist doesn't have evidence yet." Angel froze. It was Valerie. They were talking about Valerie. She felt a pang in her stomach and something else, an inner alarm, the same one she had been ignoring for years. After noon, the house was once again the perfect setting for the Sterlings. Long table, aligned glasses, gleaming cutlery, everything impeccable. Angel, dressed in a beige dress, hair up, discreet makeup, came down the stairs as if nothing had happened. Not a single word about the previous night, not a single mention of Lily's drawing, not a single look at the void Rosa had left. Lunch was a farce. Laughter that didn't come from the gut, cold conversations. Marcus talking about business. Mrs. Evelyn flattering a corrupt politician. Ethan telling a vulgar joke. Angel serving wine, cutting bread, passing napkins. Everything remained the same until it didn't. At 4 p.m., after everyone had left, Angel went up to her room. She wanted to rest. She felt weak, nauseous, and a slight pain in her abdomen that had been recurring for weeks. Marcus burst in without knocking. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing, I'm just tired." "I don't like that tone or that attitude." "The martyr again." "I don't feel well. Can I at least have that?" Marcus approached, took her face with one hand, not with tenderness but with force. He made her look at him. "Listen carefully. If anyone at all, asks you about us, you smile." "Understood. What are you talking about?" "Valerie came to see you yesterday." "Didn't she say anything?" Angel shook her head. "She didn't say anything to me. If she shows up again, you tell me first. She's looking to destroy this family." "I won't allow it." Angel didn't reply. Marcus let go of her face and left the room. That night there was no dinner. Lily ate in her room watching cartoons. Angel sat on the edge of the bed with the lights off. The abdominal pain was increasing, but she didn't say anything. She didn't ask for help. After midnight, she got up to get water, walking barefoot down the hall in her nightgown. The lights were off. The house was asleep. Or so she thought. As she reached the stairs, a shadow moved behind her. A hand grabbed her arm tightly. "Where are you going?" It was Marcus. "I just went down for water," she replied, scared. "That's a lie. You were going to call someone." "Valerie." "No, please, Marcus. You're ungrateful. You have everything. A house, a daughter, a name. And you keep acting like a victim." "I'm not acting." "Then shut up." "Shut up." He pushed her. Not with explosive violence. It was a dry, decisive, calculated impulse. Angel didn't have time to catch herself. Her body fell backward. A thud, then another, a crunching sound, a choked gasp, and silence. The house was in darkness. Minutes later, Ethan ran down the stairs. Mrs. Evelyn appeared behind him, her robe clutched to her body, her face distraught. Angel lay at the foot of the stairs. Her head was bleeding, her leg was twisted strangely. She was breathing, but weakly. Marcus came down seconds later, feigning alarm. "Oh my God, Angel, what happened?" Mrs. Evelyn looked him straight in the eyes. "Tell them it was an accident." "What?" "Do it now. Tell them she fell. You were in the room, you heard everything." "Understood." Marcus nodded. His face immediately changed. Anguish, desperation. Feigned screams. "Help! My wife fell. Angel, please." Ethan called emergency services. Minutes later, the house was filled with paramedics, lights, and voices. The police arrived. Marcus, impeccable in his acting, narrated what happened. "I was asleep. I heard a noise. I ran and saw her lying there. It was horrible." Angel, semi-conscious, heard his words as if they came from a distant tunnel. She wanted to speak. She wanted to tell the truth. But she didn't. Not yet. She was taken to the hospital. There they confirmed a fractured leg, a mild concussion, and multiple bruises. Marcus remained by her side, crying in public, kissing her forehead. The doctors didn't suspect anything. The police didn't either. The report was registered as a domestic accident. Returning home days later, Angel no longer walked alone. She had crutches and a soul more broken than ever. But that night, when everyone was asleep, she locked herself in her room, went to the closet, moved the clothes, removed the loose wood panel at the back, and took out a gray box covered in dust. She placed it on the bed and opened it. Inside was an old tape recorder, an old cell phone with a cracked screen, several USB drives, and a notebook with names written in blue ink. Angel wasn't broken. Angel was awake, and now she was planning something. Angel looked at the contents of the box like someone contemplating an undetonated bomb. Every object she had saved there for months had a purpose. The tape recorder, wrapped in one of Lily's handkerchiefs, was the same one Rosa had used to record conversations in the kitchen without Marcus knowing. The old cell phone contained hidden videos saved in protected folders with innocuous names. And the notebook, that notebook contained a handwritten list with initials, dates, places, and phrases only she understood. The plan had been born in a single night. It had been germinating in her head for a long time, like a seed planted in damp earth, waiting for the moment to break through the soil. Angel sat on the edge of the bed. It was raining heavily outside. The sound of the drops hitting the windows calmed her. Lily was sleeping deeply in the adjacent room, surrounded by dolls that tried to protect her from a world they didn't understand. Angel needed her not to suspect anything, for her childhood not to be further stained than it already was. She turned on the old cell phone. The screen took time to light up. The logo appeared, then a vibration. The internal memory was full. She played one of the videos. It was from 2 months ago. Marcus talking on the phone from the study, unaware that Angel was recording him from the slightly ajar door. It doesn't matter if she doesn't want to sign. I'll threaten her with the girl, that's it. We'll deny the other woman thing as always. Angel paused the video, took a deep breath, then picked up the recorder and played the most recent audio. It was from the morning after the push on the stairs. Mrs. Evelyn talking to Marcus. You have to control your wife. This time it was close. If she dies, there's no way to cover it up. She's not going to die. She doesn't have the courage. She better not. Angel turned off the recorder. Every sound, every word hit her inside, but it also reminded her why she couldn't stop. Angel had waited too long, trusted too much, kept silent too much. No more. That morning, after ensuring Marcus had left for his office and Mrs. Evelyn was not home, Angel walked with difficulty to the service quarters. There, where Rosa used to sleep before quitting, was a small metal box. She opened it. Inside, she found a blue notebook and an old photo of two girls hugging. One of them was Andrea, her neighbor. The other, her sister, Monica. Monica had died 3 years ago, a victim of femicide. The killer had been her partner. He walked free due to lack of evidence. Andrea had since become a silent activist. She didn't appear in the media, she didn't make noise, but she helped women in extreme situations like Angel's. She was the one who taught her how to record without being discovered, how to protect files, how to save evidence without leaving a digital trace. Angel wrote a note on paper, put it in an envelope, and slipped it under Andrea's apartment door that same afternoon when Marcus was away. She knew she couldn't send a message from her mobile because Marcus controlled everything. The envelope simply read, "I'm ready." That same night, Andrea called the house's landline. Mrs. Evelyn answered. "Yes," she said in a dry tone. "Good evening, I'm the lady from 3B. I need to speak to Mrs. Angel, it's urgent. It's about the package delivery she ordered." "One moment." She passed the phone to Angel without even looking at her. "A neighbor of yours." "Don't be long." Angel took the receiver. "Andrea, I'll meet you in the building basement at 10. The guard owes me a favor. Don't say anything, just come down." Angel nodded in silence. She hung up. At 10 o'clock sharp, with crutches and a long coat, she went down the elevator. It was still raining. The basement was dimly lit. Andrea was waiting for her next to her car, smoking. "I knew this day would come," she said bluntly. Angel approached, breathing with difficulty. "I have everything. Videos, audios too, names, dates, and something else. There's a network. Marcus isn't acting alone. There are judges, politicians, doctors, and money. Lots of money." Andrea threw the cigarette to the ground and stepped on it. "Give it to me. I'll deliver it. I have contacts. Trust me. I can't. If he finds out I lost the originals, he'll kill me. And I don't mean that as a metaphor." Andrea looked at her sternly. "Then make a copy. Keep the originals in a place you don't even remember. But you can't have everything with you. It's dangerous." Angel nodded. "Okay." Valerie, the journalist, is very interested, but she won't act without solid evidence. If we publish anything without backup, these people will crush us. Angel ran a hand over her forehead. She was sweating. "Something isn't right. I haven't felt well lately. I get tired. Everything hurts." Andrea observed her closely. "Have you seen a doctor?" "No, Marcus controls my appointments, my outings, even my pills. You have to go. This is bigger than you, Angel. And if you fall, no one will protect Lily." Those words were a direct stab. Angel nodded forcefully. They said goodbye. She returned home carefully. No one noticed her absence. That morning, in the darkness of her room, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. She curled up in bed without making a sound. She didn't want to worry Lily. She didn't want Marcus to suspect. The next day was a nightmare. Marcus was irritable. He slammed doors. He spoke on the phone in an aggressive tone. Something had happened in his office. Angel didn't ask. Mrs. Evelyn walked through the house with a rosary between her fingers, praying, but her prayers were not for faith. They were for fear. That family knew something was coming. They smelled it. Lily played on the floor with her colored blocks, her gaze low. Silence settled in her small soul. As night fell, Angel locked herself in the bathroom. She vomited. She trembled. She looked at herself in the mirror. She had dark circles, a pale face, dry lips. She sat on the toilet, hugging herself. Something was wrong. It wasn't just stress. She made a decision. The next day, she would pretend to go to church. Mrs. Evelyn wouldn't object to that. She would call a taxi. She would go straight to the hospital. She did just that. She entered the medical center with dark glasses, loose hair, and discreet clothing. She introduced herself as Angel Ramirez, a surname she used on her secret bank account. She requested a general consultation. The doctor was young, attentive. He took her blood pressure. He asked questions. How long have you had these symptoms? A few months, but they've intensified recently. I get tired quickly. I have nausea, dizziness, constant pain. Let's run some tests. All right. Angel nodded. She waited almost 2 hours. The doctor returned with a serious expression. Ms. Ramirez, there are changes in your analysis. We need to do a CT scan. What does that mean? I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it could be something important. Do you have a history of cancer in your family? Angel was speechless. She left the hospital with a dry throat. That word echoed in her head. She didn't return home directly. She walked a few blocks. She sat on a park bench and called Andrea from a public phone. I need to see you. Tonight. That night at Andrea's apartment, they reviewed all the material. Andrea copied the files onto 2 hard drives, then stored them in a wooden box that she buried in a large planter on the balcony. No one will find this, she said. Now all that's left is to deliver it to Valerie. Angel stood up. She was pale, dizzy. I'm going to the bathroom. She took several minutes. Andrea went to look for her. She found her on the floor, fainted. Angel woke up on the sofa with a blanket over her and an ice pack on her forehead. We need to go to the emergency room, Andrea said. No. If Marcus finds out. Do you prefer to die before facing him? Angel didn't answer. Andrea sat next to her and took her hand. I'm going to tell you this straight. My sister also thought she could handle everything, that she was strong, that she could resist, that she could change him. And do you know what they did to her? They killed her. They left her in a ditch. The police closed the case as a suicide. You have a daughter, Angel. You have evidence. You have a motive and you have fear. But that can't paralyze you. Angel squeezed her eyes shut. Tears began to fall uncontrollably. I'm afraid for Lily. He said if I talked, she would be next. Andrea remained silent. Then she took a small wooden box from the drawer. This is for you. It's a panic button. You wear it like a necklace. If you press it for 3 seconds, it sends a signal to my cell phone and to Valerie's. No matter where you are. Angel took it. It was small. It looked like ordinary jewelry. That night, she returned home. Mrs. Evelyn was gone. Marcus wasn't there either. Lily was sleeping. Everything was calm. Before sleeping, she checked her phone. There was a message from an unknown number. It only said, if you keep talking, your daughter will be next. Her heart stopped for a second. She looked down the hall. Everything was silent. Angel turned off the cell phone, locked the door, and for the first time in a long time, slept with a knife under her pillow. Angel woke up at dawn as if her body had learned to defend itself, even in sleep. The first thing she did was feel under the pillow. The knife was still there. A brief, fleeting relief. She got up without making a sound. Lily was still sleeping, her old teddy bear hugged to her chest. The whole house seemed suspended in an uncomfortable silence, as if sensing that something was about to explode. Marcus had left early. Mrs. Evelyn was in her room. Angel took the opportunity to lock herself in the bathroom and check her phone. She deleted the anonymous threat message. She read it one last time before eliminating it. If you keep talking, your daughter will be next. She couldn't save it. She couldn't risk Marcus finding it, but she couldn't forget it either. She had memorized it word for word. That same day, Andrea wrote her a note. Valerie found something. Says it's important. Can you come out tonight? Angel read it and burned it in the guest bathroom sink. The ashes floated for a second before disappearing down the drain. She was afraid, but she was more afraid of not knowing what Valerie had discovered. That night, she made an excuse. She told Mrs. Evelyn she was going to leave an offering at the parish for Lily's health. She mentioned the Virgin Mary. Mrs. Evelyn, superstitious and devout, didn't ask any more questions. Angel met with Valerie and Andrea in the basement of an abandoned building where an unnamed organization offered help to victims under protocols of total anonymity. The light was dim. There were metal chairs and peeling walls. Valerie had papers, photographs, and a classified file on the table. Prepare yourself, she said bluntly. This isn't just Marcus, it's much bigger, and it starts with your brother. Angel froze. Her face changed, pain, rage, confusion. My brother? He died years ago. It was an accident. Valerie shook her head. It wasn't an accident. It was medical malpractice, but not just any kind. At the Sterling Clinic. Andrea opened a folder. Inside were copies of emails, manipulated invoices, and an internal report signed by a now-deceased doctor. Your brother arrived with an abdominal trauma. He needed immediate surgery. They should have transferred him to the emergency room in less than 20 minutes. They left him waiting for 4 hours. Do you know why, Angel? She shook her head, tears in her eyes. Because they were busy covering up another scandal. The clandestine abortion of Judge Romero's daughter, who had arrived that same night with a hemorrhage. Marcus was already working with the medical board. He was the one who pressured them for the death to be declared organ failure. The doctors were silenced with money. The rest was a chain of favors. Your brother died because someone with power decided his life was worth less. Angel's world collapsed. Not only had she been betrayed as a wife and mother, but now she understood that everything had started much earlier than she thought, and that Marcus had been part of her family's pain from the beginning. Andrea placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Valerie continued. Your gardener James also spoke. I recorded his testimony. He gave me dates, details, even the names of other women who worked there and left out of fear. There are patterns. There is a clear history of abuse, manipulation, and cover-up. And it's all here. Angel listened as if she were outside her body. Every word was a new wound and, at the same time, a spark of something she hadn't felt in years. Strength. She left that place with a folder hidden inside her coat. She said nothing during the trip. Andrea accompanied her to the corner of her building. Before leaving, she whispered something in her ear. Don't die before you win, Angel. You've already lost too much. Angel entered the house with her face covered by a scarf. No one noticed her arrival. She went up to her room, locked herself in. She opened the folder, reread everything, and cried. Not like before, with fear or desperation. This time, it was a quiet, deep rage, a mourning for everything they had taken from her. The next morning, something began to go wrong with her body. The abdominal pain became unbearable. Dizziness, nausea, extreme weakness. She went down to the dining room with a pale face. Mrs. Evelyn glanced at her. You look like a corpse. Starting your sick person antics again. Angel didn't respond. She could barely stand. Lily has a presentation at school this afternoon. Don't dare miss it. Marcus looked at her from his seat with a coffee in his hand. And smile. You look awful. Angel went back upstairs, locked herself in the bathroom, and vomited blood. She fell to her knees. She tried to scream but had no voice. The pain was too much. She managed to drag herself to the door. She banged on it hard. Lily was the first to arrive. Mommy, what's wrong? Marcus appeared behind her. What are you doing on the floor? Take me to the hospital, Angel murmured, barely conscious. Half an hour later, she was in the emergency room. A new hospital, one outside the Sterling's circle of influence. She was treated quickly. The doctor recognized her immediately. The family's reputation preceded her. Angel Montgomery, Marcus Sterling's wife, right? She nodded weakly. Have you had bleeding before? Yes. Pain, fatigue, dizziness. They ran urgent tests, CT scans, complete analysis. She was admitted immediately. Marcus didn't arrive. Mrs. Evelyn called to request a report, but the doctor refused. That clinic wasn't for sale with names. 3 hours later, the diagnosis arrived. The doctor entered the room with a contained expression. Mrs. Angel, the study confirmed the presence of an advanced tumor in your uterus. It has metastasized. It's not operable. We can begin palliative treatment, but there is no cure. Angel remained silent. She didn't react immediately. Then she looked toward the window. How much time? It's variable, but we should prepare for the worst. Angel closed her eyes, not out of fear of death, but for what she had yet to do. She didn't cry in front of the doctor. She waited to be alone, and then in silence, her head on the pillow, she let out a deep sob. She cried for herself, for her brother, for her daughter, for the women who had been silenced by the same family. She cried because time was slipping through her fingers, and she hadn't saved Lily yet. She requested to be discharged the next day. She knew she couldn't stay there. She had to move, act, deliver the information to Valerie, and protect her daughter. That same afternoon, Andrea came to pick her up. She found her thinner, but her eyes were burning. I already know I'm dying, Angel said in the car. I'm sorry, Andrea whispered. No, I don't want pity. I want justice. That night, Angel didn't sleep. She printed copies of the most important documents. She wrote letters. One for Valerie, one for Andrea, and a final one that she hid at the bottom of her drawer for Lily. When she finished, she sat by the window. The moon was full, and Angel was no longer afraid. She woke up with a weakened body, but a gaze firmer than ever. The cancer had begun to drain her strength, but her soul was filled with only one thing: purpose. It wasn't about her anymore. It was never just about her. It was about Lily, about her brother, about Monica, about the women who didn't live to tell their stories. And this day, everything would end. The Sterling family's benefit event was an annual tradition where the family opened the doors of their mansion to politicians, businessmen, media, and donors. A perfect facade to whitewash their image and feign altruism. This year was special. They were celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Sterling Foundation with a live-streamed event. Angel knew this, which is why she had chosen it. At 10 a.m., Andrea helped her get dressed. Angel's skin was transparent, her hands trembled. Under the long dress, she hid a binder that held a catheter. A dark scarf covered what chemotherapy had stripped away. But her eyes burned with a clarity Andrea had never seen. "Are you sure?" Andrea asked as she buttoned the last buttons. "Nevermore," Angel replied. Andrea looked at her for a moment in silence. "You look beautiful." Angel smiled bitterly. "I've never felt so free." They arrived at the event through a side entrance. Valerie was already there with the technical team prepared. Giant screens installed in the gardens projected images of the foundation, helping poor communities, giving out scholarships and food. Carefully edited lies. Everything was ready to deceive an entire country. Angel walked among the people without many recognizing her at first. Some murmured under their breath. Her thinness, the scarf, her paleness. But no one said anything. No one wanted to inconvenience the Sterling name. Mrs. Evelyn on the main stage gave orders in her usual style. Ethan had been drinking whiskey since 10 a.m., nervous, agitated. Marcus, impeccable in his navy suit, rehearsed his speech in front of a dressing room mirror. Valerie, dressed as an ordinary guest, reviewed the files from a tablet connected to the projection system. Angel approached. She said nothing, she just nodded. Valerie understood. It was time. At 12 o'clock sharp, Marcus went onto the stage. The cameras focused on him. The media transmitted live. The auditorium full of personalities applauded. He began his speech with a serene, manipulative voice, trained to convince. "Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in us. Today we celebrate 2 decades of commitment, justice, and humanity." The audience kept pace with plastic smiles. Mrs. Evelyn nodded from the front row. Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. And then, the first screen went dark. Then all of them. Marcus's voice was interrupted by a buzzing sound, and within seconds, the screens began to project a video. Angel's face appeared in a close-up, weak, without makeup, with the scarf on her head, in front of a white wall. "My name is Angel Montgomery. I was the wife of Marcus Sterling. For years, I suffered in silence, but today no more." A brutal silence fell over the place. "This man you are applauding hit me, threatened me, pushed me down the stairs, stole my voice, and almost took my daughter from me. And not just me." The image changed. Audios, Marcus insulting, shouting, slamming doors. Then the testimonies of former employees, of Rosa, of the gardener James. "I saw it. He told her if she spoke, she would regret it. That lady lived like a ghost. Her eyes were always teary." Another recording. Marcus on the phone. "Of course, I can shut her up. If she gets stubborn, her story ends. No one believes a crazy woman." The audience began to murmur. Some women stood up. A man shouted, "Stop." Mrs. Evelyn stood up, pale. Ethan took out his cell phone. Marcus descended from the stage, his face distraught. "Turn that off," he screamed now. But no one obeyed him. The screen then showed something more serious. Medical documents, emails, evidence of the cover-up in the death of Angel's brother, fake invoices, manipulated signatures. Valerie, from the back, transmitted everything live on social media. Within minutes, the story was a national trend. The truth had escaped the walls of that mansion. Police officers entered through the main door. Marcus tried to leave through the back, but Valerie intercepted him. "Where are you going? You can't run this time." He tried to push her away, but it was too late. The agents surrounded him, handcuffing him in front of everyone. A camera captured the exact moment. Marcus shouted, "This is a setup. She's crazy. She has cancer. She's going to die." Angel then appeared. She walked, supported by Andrea, to the center of the garden. People moved aside. Mrs. Evelyn stood still. Ethan covered his face. Angel stood a few feet in front of Marcus. "Yes, I'm dying, but I'm not leaving without the world knowing who you are. Today, silence dies with me." Marcus didn't respond. They dragged him away. Mrs. Evelyn collapsed. She fainted in her seat. Paramedics attended to her, but it wasn't serious. Ethan ran off, distraught. That night, he locked himself in his 14th floor apartment and didn't answer calls. He left a handwritten letter. No one knew what it said. The next morning, his body was found. The entire country was talking about Angel, about the Sterlings, about the lies, the power, the abuse. The internet was an ocean of outrage. Women shared their stories. Others came forward to report. That night, Angel returned home. She could barely stand. Lily ran to hug her. "Mommy, I saw you on TV. You saw me?" "Yes. You said you're not afraid anymore. What happens now?" Angel hugged her tight. "Now you are free, my love." Andrea helped her up the stairs. Upon reaching the room, Angel fainted. Her body no longer responded. She was taken to the hospital. Emergency room, transfusions, morphine. Only one word remained, terminal. But her soul was at peace. Her last will was still pending, and it was already written. Angel had prepared everything with the precision of someone who knows there is no turning back. She did it without drama, without loud goodbyes, only with determination. Every day that passed, she felt her body slowly give way, but her spirit remained firm. She understood it very clearly. Her story could not end with her. Not while there were still girls like Lily, women like Andrea, or stories like her brothers that were trapped in oblivion. In the days following the event that brought down the Sterling name, social media, the media, and the streets were filled with one question. Who was Angel Montgomery, really? And the answer became increasingly clear. Not a victim, not a defeated woman, not just one more. Angel was the breaking point. While she remained hospitalized, Andrea and Valerie worked tirelessly. The refuge Angel had dreamed of giving shape to already had walls, a roof, and a name. The Angel House. It wasn't a charity center. It was a place of reconstruction, a space where the word care would mean more than clean walls and food. It would be synonymous with respect, security, and hope. Angel spent most of her time in silence. She slept in intervals, breathing with the help of a machine, but whenever she had energy, she asked for a pencil and paper. She continued writing letters, ideas, phrases. She recorded video messages with Valerie's help. She wanted to leave seeds in different hands so that her struggle did not depend on a single person. Lily visited her daily. They didn't talk about the illness. They didn't talk about goodbyes. They only talked about small things: flowers, colors, animals, the weather, the books she would read when she was older. Angel never let the girl see the deterioration as a tragedy, only as part of the journey. One afternoon, Angel asked for a white scarf to be brought to her. Andrea handed it to her without asking. "Do you like this one? It has small flowers." Angel nodded. "I want to wear it tomorrow, for the final recording." Andrea looked at her with moist eyes. "Are you sure you can?" "I can't leave this world without speaking to them," she replied. Valerie arrived shortly after, set up a camera in front of the bed, and adjusted the tripod. Natural light entered through the window. Angel asked not to be made up. She wanted her face to speak with truth. The scars, the marks, the paleness, everything had to be there. She looked at the lens and began. "To you, woman who is listening to me, to you who may be feeling fear, doubt, pain, I want you to know that you are not alone. I also felt the same way for a long time and stayed silent, thinking that silence would protect me. But I learned that silence is also a cage. That's why I decided to speak. And although my time in this world is running short, I want to tell you something that no one ever told me. Your life, your voice is worth it, your story matters. And when you dare to tell it, many more will do so with you. Don't forget it. This fight is not just mine, it's everyone's. And even when I'm gone, if you decide to speak, I will live on in your voice." Valerie stopped the recording. Andrea was crying, not with sadness, but with a mixture of admiration and deep pain. They hugged in silence. Angel could barely sit up, but she smiled. "Now I can rest," she murmured. Days later, Angel's health began to decline rapidly. Her skin became more transparent, her movements more paused. Lily continued to visit her, lying next to her and telling her invented stories, drawing stars for her. Angel responded with soft caresses, barely audible words. Andrea stayed with her every night. She read fragments of the messages that arrived at the refuge. Letters from women thanking Angel's courage, new stories, many of them shared for the first time, cases that were now being addressed thanks to her testimony. One night, while Andrea was changing the water for the flowers, Angel called her in a weak voice. "Is everything ready?" "Yes. The refuge opens next week. Valerie is organizing the ceremony. There's a plaque with your name, and your daughter will be there. And Lily, everything is in order. The papers, the new school, the family you chose. They are good, Angel, truly good. You'll be proud." Angel closed her eyes for a moment. "Thank you for staying until the end. Andrea sat beside her. Until the end and beyond, because you're not leaving. You will stay in all of us. That was the last long conversation they had. At dawn the next day, Angel breathed calmly, as if waiting for something, as if she knew it was the last time she would see the sun rise. Andrea, half asleep in the chair, woke up feeling a change in the atmosphere. Angel opened her eyes, looked out the window, then at Andrea. "Take care of her," she said. Andrea leaned closer. "I promise." Angel smiled. She closed her eyes, her body relaxed. The monitor emitted a long beep. The staff entered. They confirmed what was already evident. Angel's heart had stopped, but her legacy had not. The funeral was as she requested. No luxuries, no empty speeches, only women. More than 500 marched in silence with lit candles. Many wore white scarves, some held posters with phrases written by Angel. Others held the names of women who had also wanted to be heard and never had the chance. Lily walked at the front, holding Andrea's hand. She held a small box with her mother's remains. When they reached the center of the park, she placed the urn on a stone as was written. Valerie handed her a microphone. Lily took a deep breath. She was only 7 years old, but her voice didn't tremble. "My mommy taught me that there are things you don't keep quiet, that the truth doesn't hurt as much as fear. She didn't leave me money or jewelry or dresses. She left me something more valuable. The strength not to let myself be taken. That's why I'm here, because my mommy wasn't a fragile woman. She was a hero. And heroes don't die, they multiply." The silence was broken by applause, not of celebration, but of recognition, of respect. In the following days, the refuge officially opened. It served the first women in difficult situations. A mural with Angel's face was painted at the entrance. Every story told there was a new version of what she had lived. And every time a woman dared to speak, it was as if Angel breathed again. The story reached international media. It was part of documentaries, debates in parliaments, and reforms in protection laws. In schools, her testimony was used as an example of resilience. On social media, her face accompanied support campaigns. Lily grew up knowing exactly who her mother had been. Not a tragic figure, not a martyr, but a builder of paths. A voice that refused to be silenced, a force that neither disease nor fear could stop. And although her body rested, her fight was just beginning. Because heroes don't disappear. They only change form and multiply in those who dare to speak. Every day, thousands of women face situations that risk their safety and dignity. This story is not just a narrative, it is a reflection of many realities. May it not only be a memory, but an impulse to act. Where one woman dares to speak, a chain of change is born. What did you think of this story? There are many people who, like Angel, are living silent battles every day. Our hope is that her voice has also resonated within you. If this story touched your heart, share it. Make more people feel accompanied. Be part of the change. Tell us in the comments what you would have done in her place. What city are you watching us from? Reading you makes us feel closer to you. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Every gesture from you is a sign that these stories must continue to be told. Don't go yet. Our next compelling story is already appearing on your screen. Click on any of them and continue exploring this universe of real, moving, and necessary stories. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling with us. We send you a huge hug wherever you are. See you in the next one.